We're good. I'd like to call this meeting to order on voting day, August 16th, 2022. We do have a quorum today. 4 of us in the chambers. Commissioner Smith, feeling a little under the weather. He is joining us via Zoom. So thank you, Commissioner Smith. Chairman Smith, he's asked me to run the meeting today. So with that, let's please rise as we say join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll stay for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the States of America. Fellow commissioners, have you had a chance to look at the agenda, and what would you like to do with that?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would be happy to second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? With no discussion, all in favor with an aye?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes.
Why are you laughing at me?
Minutes from 8/2/22. What's your flavor?
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to approve the minutes of 8/2/22.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? With no discussion, all in favor with an aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Up next, we'll look at the acceptance of the bills, which today are the approval of the county vouchers and warrants EALs, and also the approval of monthly reports. Commissioners, what would you like to do?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I'll make a motion to approve the county vouchers and warrants, EALs, and the monthly reports as presented.
thank you, Commissioner Shanefield. Do we have a second?
I
I'll
will.
second.
Oh,
Okay,
Jeff got it.
Jeff Smith from the video camera gets the second. Any discussion? Okay, with no discussion, all in favor with an aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Up next, tab C, public hearing, planning and zoning. Turn it over to me.
Thank you, Commissioner Lloyd. We've got 2 public hearings today, and the first one that we have is a conditional use permit for a wireless internet site out over just across the street from where Ranch View Estates is at. It's on land that is owned by Lawrence and Judy Lauder, and the applicant is LR Communications. It's because this is located within the growth management area, just barely. This is why we're here before you today. Has to go through the conditional use process and not just the normal construction permit process. As you can see, the wireless internet site is on a rather large vacant piece of property right now. It will be up on top of the hill for line of sight. What LR Communications is proposing is a 50-foot wireless internet site to help in the expansion of their network, very similar to what we had last month as well. The site will be very similar looking to the existing man-face site that is just west of Green River, and also the site that was approved last month, just south of the city of Green River limits as well. The site will also be run completely off of solar panels. There will be no need for other utility services for this to operate. And it's proposed to cover roughly a 15 by 20 foot area on the ground. And just a reminder to everybody that telecommunication sites are heavily regulated by the FCC. As you can see, just this couple site plans that were turned in. It is located on top of the hill. This helps with line of sight for not only them providing service, but everybody getting service from their tower location. This is the existing Manfig site in which it will be modeled after a very small footprint on the property. And as you can see by the site photos that Mr. Zimmerman took when he posted on the property, it's pretty vacant out there. And there are several, there's about, I believe, 9 review criteria that we go through in attempt not to bore you like I do on a regular basis when I come up here. I'll just kind of hit on the high points on this one. Staff does not anticipate any adverse effects on adjacent property owners. Everybody out there is pretty much ag with the exception of Ranch View Estates being a residential subdivision zoned R1. But it's a good location in our mind. The fact that they only need access to go to and from the site is they'll be using the existing access that is out there. And just as a reminder, the Land Use Department in Sweetwater County cannot enforce access restrictions or anything on this, but they have assured us that the existing site onto this property that the lotters have used for years will be in use. So they're trying to minimize their footprint as much as possible. And staff does not foresee that this request will adversely affect any of the public health, safety, or welfare. RF emissions are also heavily regulated by the FCC. We did receive one public or an agency comment when we put it out. It was from Sweetwater County Public Works Director Gene Legursky, just asking that the existing approach will be used to the site. And we've been informed that this was in the plan all along, so no worries there. And on the August 10th, 2022 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the board voted 5-0 to recommend approval of this conditional use permit based upon staff recommendations of approval as well. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you, Megan. Is there anyone from the audience who would like to approach and share any information on this, or are you okay with what was presented? And make sure you speak into the microphone and announce who you are and tell us who and where you are.
I'm John Mock with LR Communications. I'm the person who put everything together for the site and the plans and whatnot. If anybody has any questions, I'll field them, but I don't have anything to add. You laid it out quite well. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioners, does anyone have any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any comments or questions from the commissioners outside of that? Okay, with that, we're going to open it up for public hearing. So we're open for public hearing. Any comments on the resolution for the approval of the conditional use permit for a wireless internet site? Okay, we'll close the public. Tim, anything from back on the computer, anything calls? And okay. All right, we're back into session. So with that, commissioners, what do we want to move on with the resolution 22-08-CO-01 for approval of a conditional use permit for a wireless internet site?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Shanfield.
I'll make a motion to approve 22-08-CO-01 approval of a conditional use permit for a wireless internet site as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Mr. Chairman, I would second that.
Second from Commissioner Tolman. Any further discussion?
It's great service. I can attest to it, and I think it will expand the service for the residents in that area of the county.
With no further discussion, all in favor with an aye?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Same sign? Motion passes for resolution 22-08-0-01. All right, we'll go to the next one.
Thank you, Commissioner Lloyd. Our next public hearing that we have is a conditional use for kennels, pet boarding, and grooming. The applicant is Brenda Baker, who also owns Pamper Paws Boarding and Grooming. She currently resides at 650 Summit Drive, just north of Rock Springs, and has been there since 2017. So she's been there just a few years. The current zoning of the property is R2 mixed residential. And as you can see from the zoning map, it's adjacent to R2SF mixed residential. There's a lot of different, in my opinion, it's in a pretty good location. It is a residential community, but it's also mixed residential out there. So it's not high populated density where people are living right on top of each other out there. Brenda Baker has operated Pamper Paws boarding and grooming since August 15th of 2017. Since she has taken over this business, land use staff has not received any complaints of her operating this business, which is a huge thanks to us. And we're very grateful for that. And the applicant wanted to make sure everybody knew that she has made numerous improvements to not only the buildings and the grounds, but the environments for the dogs who stay with them out there as well. They've tried to improve the outdoor kennel. It's no longer a straw roof or fabric roof out there. They've put a metal roof on it. They've also updated all the fencing that's out there. They've added another very beautiful vinyl fence out front just to help with curb appeal and hopefully to cancel out some of that barking that happens when you have a kennel on your property. And they make sure that waste is removed daily to a large dumpster and that the waste management empties that on a weekly basis. This is going to be a two-part conditional use permit. The first part is she is requesting to increase her hours of operation in which the pets would be allowed outside of their kennels each day. And without boring you with that, I just want to make some clarifications on this. She's asking for an additional hour and a half in the morning and an hour and a half in the evening for the dogs to be allowed outside of their kennels. And one clarification that Brenda brought to my attention this morning was that this is Monday through Sunday. So the dogs will still be allowed out of their kennels in the morning, 8 to 10:30, Monday through Sunday. And on Sunday, the only time that owners can arrive on the property to pick up their pets is in the afternoon from the 3 to 6:30 p.m. window. So you can see in your packet just the difference of what she's proposing for the times there. And then the second part of this conditional use permit is she is also requesting to add on-site animal grooming. This is not an incidental use for people that are out there already that are boarding their pets out there. Obviously, if they would like to do that, that is definitely their choice. But this is more for just trying to fill a need in the community and having another grooming place that people can bring their pets to get groomed. They are encouraging once the owner shows up to brings their pet to get groomed, that they just drop the pet off and then return when the pet is done with their grooming services. The pets will be able to have a small area in her backyard to go out and relieve themselves. Other than that, they will just be allowed inside the grooming quarters. And as you can see from the site plan here, they are planning on converting the garage that is on the property to the main use for the grooming area, but they are also planning on adding an additional space of a shed that will be right up next to or as close as possible to the existing garage. Brenda has applied for a construction permit for this to happen, but that construction permit is contingent upon approval, final approval of this hearing before that will be allowed. And she is also planning to meet with code enforcement specialist Jim Zimmerman in help in making sure she's meeting all the setback and requirement criteria if and when this conditional use permit gets approved and the construction permit gets approved. The only other thing I want to make note of is the proposed hours for operation for the grooming will be Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. We have appropriately posted public notice and have put the public notice out on site. And we have also notified all adjacent property owners and agencies in the area. Standard, this goes through to the standard 9 criteria for conditional use permit, but there are also an additional 6 criteria that are specific to it being a pet boarding and kennel facility. Basically just saying animal odors will not be detected beyond lot lines. It will be cleaned in a sanitary manner, and daily removal of waste, things such as that. I, again, don't want to bore you with the, I'll just hit on the high notes of the review criteria. Again, I want to make everybody aware that land use staff does not see this adversely affecting any of the adjacent property owners. Excuse me, since Brenda has taken over this business and has resided out at 650 Summit Drive, there has not been any complaints since that time, and we've been very grateful for it. She's running a great business out there. I did make an impromptu visit about a week before the planning and zoning. And when I arrived on site, I actually did not hear any dogs barking. There was definitely no smell of animal waste or anything like that. It's a very well kept and maintained property and business. Staff has reviewed that the existing kennels with all the specific criteria within the zoning resolution, and the existing and future use will continue to meet all these setback, fencing, and sanitary requirements. Staff does not see any problems with that. And staff also does not see that any health, safety, or welfare issues will come up, as it hasn't in the past. Kennel owners are also required to adhere to stringent sanitary conditions and may be inspected at any time in the future to ensure compliance is met there. And we definitely don't have any concerns with this. When we did put this out for public and agency comment, we received two comments back. The first being from Public Works Director Jean Legursky. Just clarification of please not having any modification to the existing approach on Summit Drive. There has been no concerns here. Brenda's not widening or doing anything with it, so that is definitely not a problem. And then one of her neighbors, Angie Martinez, also responded that she doesn't have any problems with the above. It's always good to have a happy neighbor respond on your behalf as well. And excuse me. Last week, when the Planning and Zoning Commission met on August 10th, the board voted 5-0 to recommend approval with the following staff conditions as they are laid out in your packet. They basically go over that the conditional use permit is personal to the applicant, Brenda Baker. It lists out the times that the dogs will be allowed outside their kennel. It also states that waste should be removed daily and emptied by waste management services on a weekly basis. It also notes that the hours of operation for grooming is in there. And then the final thing, and this was a recommendation by the Planning and Zoning Board, was to term this conditional use indefinite. This is something that staff does not have any problems with. We've not received any comments or complaints about this, but it also doesn't mean if in the future there were to arise any complaints or anything like that, this can definitely be revisited if and when that time approaches. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Megan? Actually, Brenda, will you want to come up and introduce yourself?
I'm Brenda Baker. I am the owner, sole owner of Pampered Paws Boarding and Grooming. We just bought the grooming in May. We would like to move it out to, it is an already operational grooming facility in town. We bought a country pet parlor, and we just want to bring it out to have the full service for our customers.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions for Brenda?
Yes, I have a question. The camper trailers off to the west of the property, are they on your property or are they adjacent?
I have a camper on the property next to the barn that is ours. And then the rest of them, I don't really know.
The
where that-
picture off to the west that showed 3 or 4.
Because we just have the one camper on the west side of the barn, and then we have a couple trailers, and that's all the equipment that we have on the property.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
Commissioner Tillman, so the property you're referring to is on a different property.
Okay.
I know
thought
exactly what you're talking about. That's located
The
elsewhere.
west there, I saw
Yeah.
some.
on the other- Where the
Campers,
trailer
yeah.
court is.
Oh, it is a trailer park. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman,
yes,
Eric, I believe that's some storage over there for somebody. They use for storage, so it has nothing to do with this.
Mr. Chairman, that's correct, Commissioner Wendling.
thank you. Brenda, I have a quick question. What's the average number of dogs you guys have out there kenneled for the week?
It varies, of course. During holidays and stuff, we can have up to 26 dogs.
Okay.
We have separate areas for them. And then we can go down to 1 dog. So
Gotcha.
it just really varies on what the holiday is or summer.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any other questions for Brenda?
Thanks for coming today.
Yes, yeah, I think that's all we have at this point, so.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other comments? If not, we'll open it up for public comment. So we'll open it up for public comment regarding resolution 22-08-ZO-02, approval for a conditional use permit for kennels and pet boarding and grooming. That's a lot to say. All right, we'll close public comment. So with that being said, fellow commissioners, what would we like to do with resolution 22-08-ZO-02, a conditional use permit for kennels and pet boarding and grooming? I do think it's important to note as we make this motion that we remember that the conditions involved are the conditional use permit for pet boarding and grooming is personal to the applicant, Brenda Baker. Dog clients shall only be allowed outside of their kennel during the following times: when being dropped off or picked up by their owners, Monday through Sunday, 8 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., Monday through Sunday, 3 to 6:30 p.m., and Sunday owners can only pick up and drop off between 3 and 6:30. Waste shall be removed from the kennels daily to a covered dumpster, which shall be emptied weekly. Hours of operation for grooming to be Monday through Saturday, 8 to 6, and term of this conditional use permit is definite. So what is your what would the commission like to do with this?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve all of what you just stated.
Ooh, that's the easiest way. I wish I would have let you do that. All right. All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Shanfield. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. Any further discussion? I just want to thank Ms. Brenda Baker for this business and what you're doing out there in the community, and thank you for bringing this to us. So with that being said, all in favor with an aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed with the same sign? Motion passes. Thank you very much. And thanks to Megan, Eric, and your department. That was great, as always, with good information to be able to make decisions. So
Brenda, thank you. And what you've been doing out there is a great improvement from what it was. And it's good for dogs. And I just, I'm glad you took it over and have improved it so much. Thank you.
definitely, thank you. So, all right, we'll move forward to county resident comments, concerns, and as Chairman Smith says, and compliments. So I'll open that up for county residents' comments and concerns. Okay. Tim doesn't have anything, so we will go ahead and move forward to action items. Action item D, publication of named position, base annual salary of and amount of overtime pay paid to each full-time county employee. Looks like the awesome Sally Shoemaker will be presenting.
Good morning, Chairman and
Morning.
Commissioners. I'm here to present the next two agenda items on behalf of County Clerk Cindy Lane. The first item will be the Sweetwater County, Wyoming Public Salary Disclosure pursuant to Wyoming State Statute 18-3-516B, the publication of name, positions, actual wages, and amount of overtime pay paid to each full-time employee and each elected official is presented to the commissioners for your approval.
Does anyone have any questions for Sally Shoemaker? Ms. Shoemaker? Ms. Shoemaker, the only question I have, and it's just probably based upon reimbursements, but in looking at commissioner salaries, it shows us all at 36,000 per year. It does show Mary Toman, Commissioner Toman at 38,395. Is that because of reimbursements or?
It is, if you remember during the voucher period for mileage to and from work
Okay.
and mileage to other, that's where the representation is different.
That's what I thought. So I just thought I would check. Any other questions for Ms. Shoemaker? I'd encourage residents, if you have questions on this, to please look online. It is posted in our agenda and our agenda and the packet to go look at those salaries in whole. And if you have questions, to please reach out to us. So,
And it is also posted on the county clerk's site for publication of salaries as well. So they don't have to look through the packet to find it.
thank you for giving them a much easier way than I
You're
did,
welcome.
Sally. Any other questions for Sally?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Wendling.
this disclosure, is it for the upcoming year or is it for the past year?
This is for the past year of what they've currently been paid up through.
Okay, is there, I didn't see the fire warden in there. Is there a reason?
That I'm not aware of, but I can verify with the payroll and accounting department.
Because if it's for the past year, there's been a considerable amount of money paid out for that position. Now,
Correct.
thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
would, okay.
And I may be misinformed as well, so I will
I
verify that
wouldn't
for you,
expect you to know, Sally. You're just presenting it.
but I will verify.
Thank you.
Good question, Commissioner Wendling. With that, any other questions from the commission? All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Wendling,
I'll make a motion that this item be tabled until we get the accurate information regarding the positions that may not be listed, that should or shouldn't be listed, i.e. the fire warden.
do we have a second?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
I'm also, I apologize. I will second, but I also believe that we are missing the previous emergency management coordinator as
Ooh,
well.
very
in
Good,
that,
good catch.
And I will second that.
we have a motion and a second to table this item until we can have clarified information. Any other discussion? All in favor of tabling this till the next meeting so we have updated information, please vote with an aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We will table this till the next meeting and we get a clarification of information.
And the second item is an application for a catering permit, Commissioner Toman's favorite. We've got Santa Fe Southwest Grill requesting the application for the catering permit for Solvay Picnic, which will be held on August 30th in Jamestown, Sweetwater County Picnic Grounds.
Okay, any questions for Sally?
They do this every year. Mr. Chairman, sorry.
Yes,
They do.
Sally, they do this every year, I believe.
They do,
Thank you.
you're correct.
Okay. So with that being said, commissioners, any discussion? All right, with that, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Shanfield.
I will make a motion for the catering permit for Santa Fe Trail, doing business as Santa Fe Southwest Grill for the Jamestown County Picnic Grounds as presented. Do I have to authorize chairman to sign? I don't know.
Yes,
Unauthorized chairman to sign.
thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Mr. Chairman, I would second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right.
Yes. Would you ask Clerk Lane if that includes chocolate?
Oh, I will. That would be a wonderful dessert, wouldn't it?
All right. All in favor with an eye?
Aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. All right, motion
Thank you.
passes. Thank you, Sally. All right, we're ahead of schedule, but I think we can continue rolling if everyone's good with that. Tab F, we'll have Gene Legursky come and present regarding AML surface owners' consent for exploratory drilling.
Morning, Commissioners. What you have before you is AML surface owner's consent for the C Street Library. They're going to do some more exploratory drilling to find mine depths down there, find out what they, if they need to do anything. This is just the first step for a project. There's two things that we need to decide. One, we need to decide if we're going to actually accept this consent form. And what it is AML will buy the insurance for the first year. If we want it for another couple of years, we have to buy it. But like I said, this is just exploratory drilling. None of it is immediately adjacent to the library. It's out in the street. They do know that there is some mine workings down there at a couple of 100 feet, but they're trying to figure out where the rubble is and all that kind of stuff. The other thing we need to do is on the very first page where it says mine subsidence information, down at the very bottom, it says, as a property owner, AML will not enter or do work on your property without consent. Please mark one of the following. And there's three different things we can do. We can say we don't provide consent. We can say that they have to notify us in order to get on the thing, or we can say property owner requests AML to provide mine subsidence insurance. That's the one I recommend, but you guys have to decide that. So that's it. It's pretty easy for them. If you actually look at the map, you can see all the boreholes that they're going to do around the library and everywhere else downtown. And that's all I have.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions for Gene Legursky?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Gene, do you recommend the consent for investigation, drilling, and mitigation if required, and all planned work being provided and shown to the property owner before any work starts, as well as the insurance portion? It says that you can do more than one.
Yeah, either one. AML is really good at contacting me all the time
Okay.
anyway, so we can check. We'll check both of them, and that's fine.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions for Gene? So Gene, will you give us your recommendations one more time on filling in that form?
My recommendation would be to check the property owner consent for investigation, drilling, and mitigation if required. All planned work will be provided and shown to the property owner before any work starts with a consent. And then the next checkbox, it says property owner requests AML to provide mine subsidence insurance. Like I said, that's for a year. If we want it to continue, we'll have to provide it for another couple of years, but it's really cheap insurance. But we still pay, just so you guys know, on the HHS building downtown, we still have mine subsidence insurance on that building.
Okay. Any other questions, commissioners? Attorney De Leon, have you had a chance to check this out? Any concerns?
No concerns.
Okay. All right, with that, no other discussion?
Yes, I do have a
Oh,
question.
yes, sorry, Mary.
So if you didn't have mine subsidence insurance and the building collapse, would the regular insurance not cover that?
No. It's a specific rider. It's like flood insurance, specific rider that you have to include.
Any other questions for Gene?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the surface owner's consent for 400 C Street and authorize the chairman to sign all necessary documents, including the 2 check marks that were outlined by Mr. Legursky.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Wendling. Any other further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor with an eye?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes.
Thank you. And be careful, the two guys in the back row back here.
It is a motley crew. All right,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
point of order.
yes.
We did receive some information in our email from Anita Frey to clarify that the posting for salaries is only for active employees. I don't know if you'd like to return to tab D, if we're able to do that and untable and move forward with that.
So thank you for that, Commissioner Shanfield. With that, I'm going to look over to Attorney DeLeon. I know we tabled it to the next meeting. Are we able to have a rediscussion today based upon with the new information?
You can.
So we are ahead of time significantly. So we're going to, I'm going to pull back up my agenda. So with that, I want to relook at with the new information that's provided regarding tab D, the publication of name, position, base annual salary, and amount of overtime pay paid to each full-time county employee. With the new information presented to us from Anita Frey in accounting, payroll accounting, do we have the information? Do the commissioners know we have the information to make a decision now? And if so, what would that motion be?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Shanfield.
I'll make a motion to approve the public salary disclosure as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Wendling. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on with a vote. All in favor with an aye?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. One last thing for next meeting. Thank you, Anita, for getting us that clarification. All right, move on to tab G. Gary McLean and Sheriff John Grossnickel request to restaff vacant position in detention center.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, County Commissioners. Good morning, everybody. Everybody's voted, right? I just want to make sure I see sticker. It's okay. Just checking. We had a recent vacancy for a food worker position in the detention center. And just to remind everybody, many months ago, we put the food service operation under the supervision of the jail sergeant or lieutenant for the management of the facility, eliminating one level of management within there. So we've had a couple vacancies for the food service position, and we're bringing this one before the board right now. So there's only two positions in there. I think this is critical to maintaining the facility and restaffing as soon as possible. Any cost differences would be due to the potential for lateral entry or health insurance. And I'll entertain any questions, and the sheriff's here also if you have.
Thank you, Mr. McLean. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. McLean or Sheriff Grossnickel? Sheriff Grossnickel, anything to add? Okay. All right, hearing no questions, I'd be willing to take a motion on this situation.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I'll make a motion to restaff the position as presented and authorize chairman to sign.
we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Mr. Chairman, I would second that.
Second from Commissioner Tolman. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor with an eye?
Aye.
All opposed with the same sign? Motion passes.
Are you guys always laughing at me?
I don't know. It's just all of a sudden you get this ominous eye.
Yeah, I thought we had Lurch coming in there for just a minute.
Like, let
Aye.
there be light. It's kind of thing going on. So it's good to hear you, Jeff. So,
The voice is kind of growly. I thought you were trying to imitate Commissioner Lloyd.
all right. Up next, we'll move on to the next piece that will also include Mr. McLean and Clerk of Court Donnelly Bocc for a request to staff a temporary position and to request to staff a full-time vacant position in the clerk of courts, district court's office.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, County Commissioners. We had a vacancy for a clerk of district court clerk. County Clerk Donnelly Bocc has a little bit of a unique request, but I think it makes sense given the circumstances. So what she's essentially requesting is to replace that position with a full-time position. But as you know, that'll take some time to get that position filled. We had a person who'd recently worked in the office who's trained that would be willing to come back and work temporary to bridge the time while they're putting in their computer system in the project until we could get that full-time position filled. So essentially there's two requests in here, and you have cost sheets on both of those. The first is to replace the existing vacancy immediately with the temporary position. Again, that's a position that's already trained, who could fill in for a brief period to get them through the hump of the jury trial that they have, as well as the computer system implementation. And then second would be to approve filling the full-time position once they're available to do that. We would bring the full time position on and eliminate the temporary position. And I think it's O'Donnell, yeah. Walked in.
Anything to add, District Clerk Court Bocc?
Mr. McLean pretty well said what's needed. We're going through this conversion, getting used to new case management system, and if we could get somebody to help us temporarily that's already trained, they can take payments. The main thing is for the child support with Posse. That is the same system. They're already trained on that, and that would really be helpful so the other clerks can get, because we were manual for three days, and now we're trying to get that on. Things are going well. If you heard, I don't know, the jury trial was a mistrial, so that has gone away, but still in the interim, while they're getting used to it, it'd be great if we could have that immediate assistance, because I'm not going to have time to do interviews or anything like that. So,
okay. Any questions for Clerk of Court Bocc or Mr. McLean? I have one to start. Not only this won't be an additional employee, and the temporary, basically, from what I'm gathering, was a former employee who's going to come back, help out until the next employee comes in.
that is correct.
Okay.
And the temporary may be gone before we get but it would just help us to
Okay.
get through this time.
Okay. Any other questions for either Mr. McLean or Mrs. Bocc? All right, hearing none. What's the, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the restaffing positions as presented with the temporary position while looking for a restaffing of the permanent position.
Yeah.
And authorize chairman to sign.
Yeah. Do we have a second?
I would second that.
Second from Commissioner Tolman. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor with an eye?
Aye.
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 There's the ominous eye, and all opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you very much, Mr. McLean and Clerk of Court Bocc. And Clerk of Court Bocc, as you go, I just want to congratulations on getting that case management system going. I know that's been a goal for a long time, and I think that will really be a boon to our Clerk of Court and our district court process. So kudos to you and your staff for all the training and the work you're doing on that. Okay, up next, tab H. We're going to hear our annual Ydot presentation of Ydot's annual transportation plan and local government collaboration. So whoever's presenting can head up, and then if you'll introduce yourselves and position, and then your team that comes in, as Gina's already kind of mentioned, the motley crew of people behind you, that would be great. Thanks, Donnelly.
Morning, Commissioners. I'm Stephanie Harsh. I'm the public.
Okay, Stephanie, you're gonna want to, since it's on the viewers, you got to talk into the
Good
microphone.
morning, Commissioners. I'm Stephanie Harsh. I'm the Public Involvement Specialist for Wyoming Department of Transportation. I'm just setting up here and Pete will be giving your presentation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioners, Mr. Chair, thank you for having us. I'm Pete Stinchcomb, District Construction Engineer for Ydot and also Interim District Engineer for Ydot. I have with me, we got Clint there in the back in the green. He's one of our resident engineers. We got in the blue up front here is Darren Kaufman, our District Traffic Engineer, and then we got Tori Thomas, our District Maintenance Engineer. So may or may not have Brad McCullough, who's also a resident engineer here in Rock Springs, showing up as well. Once we get this going, I will present the annual STIP presentation to you. I'm probably going to slow you down a little bit the way you guys have been cruising this morning. So hopefully not too much so you guys can get out and get done. Get up there. All right. Well, thank you for taking time and allowing us to present the annual STIP to you. A lot of this part I presented to y'all last year. The first half of this is going to be rehashing a lot of stuff that we basically give out every year. But there is a couple little new slides in here. So as you see, my name and email are there. Most of this is online. So we can go on and you can always give comments on there. The public can always go give comments there as well. And I like to reiterate that we take comments all year long on any project or where stuff is going. So we'll see here that there's a little deadline that we meet with once this goes to the Transportation Commission that we publish it. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to continue to take comments all year long. So all right. So first, the purpose of the presentation is we need public input. We need to know how and what local agencies are working on. You know, I do a lot of collaboration with Gene. That's why he was giving us a little there on the way out. And then I give you an overview of Ydot as we go through this. All right. So a roadmap for this presentation is I'll do the Ydot overview first, then I'll discuss how we develop the STIP and the overview of the STIP in general. And then we'll go through all the district projects. If you have any questions about the district projects, I may be able to get the RE up here if I can't quite answer it exactly. And then what next steps can be taken after that with whether it's the commission or, you know, Gene or whoever, what kind of steps we can take as the cities or counties want to get involved. This is our purpose, mission, vision, and values for Ydot. Our purpose is to support Wyoming's economy while safely connecting communities and improving the quality of life. Mission is to provide safe and effective transportation systems. Our vision is excellence in transportation, and our values are respect, integrity, dedication, excellence, and safety. It equals rides there, so a little nice little acronym. Our goals, I won't hit all of these, but you know, provide essential public safety services and effective communication systems. Another one to point out is we encourage and support innovation, whatever that may be. Our guiding principles here as we go through and develop our stuff and you know, work on our system or help others with theirs. We obviously have to align expenditures with the available revenue and amount and the source. We prioritize Ydot assets preservation based on condition of the asset to meet our established goals. And another one is we address mobility and capacity through system improvements and enhancements. So a quick little overview of Ydot. We have a lot of miles of roads across the state. That's one of the unfortunate things about having a big land mass. We have a lot of bridges and structures, over 6,000 or maybe more. Culverts, they plug up all the time around here, but with all the sand we have, but the culverts, we got 42,000 of those things. And we got 12,000 miles of fence and 80,000 signs. It's just, we have a lot of inventory on our system, so we gotta spread our dollars every which way we can. Quick overview of Ydot. I'm not gonna hit all these, but the main ones that I try to hit, engineering planning, that's our offices in Cheyenne. They help us with designing our roads and getting them ready for construction. Construction, maintenance, and traffic, those are the three that are here. We also take care of our facilities. Obviously, patrol is underneath Ydot, which I do know that's unique for our state, which is kind of cool. Aeronautics, all the airports, we tend to forget about that because we usually go to the other states to hit the airport instead of, but this airport here is usually a good one to go out of. So driver's licenses as well. And we have various different support programs on top of all that, like in HR and employee safety and local governments. So the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, or IIJA. This is a little bit of a rundown of what it's doing for us in particular. That's adding to our bridges. We're able to do some more bridge work over the next few years, which is great. We'll get some of those old ones taken care of. There is a little bit of money in there for electric vehicles, and I'll go over that here in a little bit. Airport's got a little bit of extra boost through that bill, and so it raised a little bit of our dollars, but I'm sure all of you noticed how much inflation has gone up in the last few months too. So it helped, but it didn't almost. So this is Ydot's unfunded operating needs. It's just a rundown of, and I'm sure you guys see this as a county as well. We have, it's hard to see on the screen, but there's we got a bunch of surface transportation projects and stuff that amount to so much, our computer systems, the highway patrol, everything adds up, and we have an annual amount of spending amount of about 354 million. The bill provided another about 91. But we're still unfunded by quite a bit. And I think it says about 267 million here. So we run on a tight budget, and like I said, I'm sure the counties and cities see that as well. So on their end. Delayed construction projects. This is just a list of stuff we put on the back burner until we can find a way to fund them, or maybe there's some kind of reason, whether it's permits or whatnot, of why we don't have certain projects funded. I do like to brag that District 3 out here on this side of the state doesn't have anything on this list, which is great. We do have one up in Thane, up in Afton area, that we're just waiting on permit stuff for, but it's kind of cool that our district doesn't have anything that's on the delayed list.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Wendling.
Yeah, could we go back to that last page, please?
Yeah.
When you say we don't have anything in this area, does this represent the projects that basically are approved and just waiting for funding?
Yeah, a lot of these are. You see the I-25, I-80 interchange. We basically have, I don't know if the plans are 100%, but I mean, the $310 million price tag on that one is just too much for us to put our entire budget to for 1 year. So they're trying to figure out how to work that. Some of them, it is just, we're waiting for the funding, and others, like I said, are, maybe a landowner agreement or something like that that hasn't been quite finalized. So
where would we know if the project, or if a project is planned for this county, i.e. running through the town of Green River when the tunnels are
Yeah.
closed with heavy traffic and everything. Would it show up here or someplace else?
It will, if we had a project, and I've been talking to Mayor Rust and the locals around here to start working on a project for downtown here. It would just show up in the STIP. I don't think that would end up on the delayed list at the moment. There's got to be some kind of reason why it ends up on the delayed list.
Is this a delayed list?
This is the delayed list. Yep.
So it's not, even though there's been conversations that have been had,
Yeah.
everybody knows that the safety of the people and children in the city of Green River
Mhm.
becomes highly suspect when those tunnels close and those semis
Yeah.
come through the main street of this town. When you take a look at the streets, how narrow they are and how they're put together, but
Yeah.
what's it going to take to get that project on? I mean, my God, it's, is it going to take some severe catastrophes here in town or tragic? I
No, I've started discussions with the city and whatnot. I know they did their study that wrapped up last year.
Yeah, I thought
believe.
so.
We have our urban systems committee meeting, and I know that was a topic of, through that meeting earlier this spring. I do believe we're both working towards getting it in the plan and getting something done down here. I understand what you're saying, and hopefully we don't have too many times where them semis do have to come down here, because we do have little crossovers where we can go to the other tunnel now. But that said, I do know it's on my radar and it's on my goals list to eventually get, I was just telling Stephanie as we were driving in and Darren, we need to get a project down here sometime. Soon, so
Yeah,
and it'll take coordination.
I think when you talk about safety and what's good for a community,
Mhm.
I take a look at I know most of those projects. I'm familiar enough with the state, and
Mhm.
I want to be honest with you. In my opinion, purely, there isn't anything on there that's more important than this project. When
Yeah.
you look at the safety. Now, I will change that thinking when I take a look at how bad shape that interchange is over by Cheyenne.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Okay, it's in rough shape, but when you talk about people's safety and you talk about when these tunnels shut down and those semis just decide they're going to come through town,
No, I agree.
it is not good for the people of this community.
Mhm.
And I just struggled the 8 years I've been on this commission, and we've seen this stiff report come across and very little about this.
Yeah. No, it's definitely
plain
on my
George
radar.
way. So I'd just like to, if there's a time, now's the time.
Yep.
We need to support these people here on this end of the state. I know the capital isn't on this end, but at one time it should have been.
I moved away from the capital, so it's you here. So
Anyhow, thank you. Appreciate it.
Commissioner Wendling, I'd just like to tag on, the capital may not be on this side of the state, but a lot of the funding and royalties come from this side of the state. So
very true.
So thank you.
No problem. All right, so when you do go to the websites and if you go online and review the presentation here, this is kind of, what you'll see. This is 2022 major construction projects. Each of the little dots kind of represents a project throughout the state. You got 2-lane road projects, and you got interstate highway projects, which are the little green ones down there on the bottom, and some and the rest of the interstate out there. So this map, you can go through and you can go and click on each little dot, and I think you can see information about each project. Now getting into the EV charging stations, that was part of the IIJA bill. The state's role is we got to ensure that there's infrastructure exists to support whatever type of vehicle you want to use. And the EVs are becoming a little more popular nowadays, but we just want to make sure anybody and everybody can get around. Form a team of state, federal, and local entities to ensure a coordinated approach, assist communities in finding available funds to meet the community goals, as state assets will not be used up to install or own or operate these EV infrastructure, but they can get up to whoever decides they want to try to pursue this and get funding up to 80% federal with a 20% match. So the corridors designated for a lot of this money is I-80, I-25, and I-90. We're probably more likely to see a lot of travelers using various different types of vehicles. And Ydot has issued RFPs for each corridor on the interstate to build out. We had a few milestones that we've already passed here. May to June, we completed our NEVI funding plan. June, we posted the funding plan for public comments. July, we submitted it to the USDOT or USDOE for review. Right now, we're making changes if required, and we'll resubmit it again for review. And then we'll start selection of and installations, and then receive approval of NEVI plan from the joint office, select NEVI consultant, and then the last to be determined part is publish 3 requests for proposal, 1 of each interstate corridor to build out. I do know our goal is to kind of have an EV in the vicinity of about every 50 miles, which kind of equals about every town. If you think about it, you go from Rock Springs to Wampsutter, that's a little over that. That's probably one of the longer ones, but yeah, Point of Rocks in the middle there too, and whatnot. So that's the plan we're taking with EV charging stations. So like I said, we're just trying to make sure anybody and everybody can use our roads. The other part of the IIJA bill is the bridge formula program and with local projects. I do know just about every county and city got this letter earlier this spring. A lot of them submitted to have bridges done. But we receive $45 million a year. At least 15% of the funds need to go to address poor condition bridges. We identified 44 bridge replacements or bridge rehabilitation projects within 29 agencies. Projects will be let in 25 to 29. The reason that's not sooner is because it takes a little bit of time to get the plan sets together for all these bridges. As letters of concurrence come in from the local governments, the projects will be added to the STIP. Ydot is looking at consultant to manage and design all these projects, just due to the fact that our workforce can't quite handle this little influx that we got going on. We have one in this county that's being done. The city of Rock Springs applied for one right there in the city of Rock Springs. It's right over by the Civic Center. That one I do know is in the STIP already. So grant opportunities. This is where the local governments can start to get involved. Ydot's webpage is usually one of the first resources that you would go to if you were looking for some grant opportunities. That website's listed there, and it is also in the online presentation. It contains information on the grants and what can be applied for by local governments. There's some competitive federal grants, include guidance and documentation on how to go about it. Zero emission vehicles is another one. Highway safety behavioral is another. Aeronautics, and then local government transportation programs. There's a whole list over there on the right side that will show you all the different ones. That's just a few of them. So onto the STIP. The STIP, we kind of have a process that we try to follow, that we do follow fairly well every year. First, we take inputs. Once again, I take inputs all year round. So if you have a project that comes to mind and you want to let me know, I can see if I can possibly fit it in, like the Green River one. So, and trust me, I've talked about it a few times, and I want to get something down someday.
Thank you.
So then after we take STIP inputs from all the different entities and whatnot, I usually formulated a candidate projects list. That usually goes in, I always have a big list of projects that I have on my radar, and I fit them in as I can. But, it goes down to all the highway, railroad projects, which I don't deal with too much, but public transit, Indian reservation road projects, federal lands projects, they all kind of come into this project list. Someone's got it on our list one way or another. We still continue to take public input. There's all different forums that you can go to, whether it's Transportation Commission, myself, anybody here at Ydot. We take it from citizens and other public agencies, and I try to work with everybody as much as I can on that. Finally, we give our presentation. That's what we're here doing today. Before this goes to the Transportation Commission, and then once it goes to the Transportation Commission, they approve this year's version of it, and then they publish it. But it's always a living document. It's going to continue to change as we go throughout time. If you go to the STIP project map, again, on that map, we have this is the one that's more interactive. You can see all the little red pinpoints there are projects that were going on this year. The blue ones are next year. And again, you go to the STIP project map, you can hover over each of these little things, maybe click on them, and it'll give you information about that project, like how many miles it is, and what we're doing, if it's just chip seal or if it's actually repaving the road. For a project, we got a process, which we were discussing there, with the Green River project, you'd go through the planning phase. So it'd get into the STIP. We'd do a recon on it. We would do some surveying and take some public input at that time. Then we go to the design phase where we issue plans. Then the engineers all take a look at it. We do engineering studies if needed. Then we develop our final plans and specs, have public meetings as appropriate. I mean, if you had one down here in Green River, we'd probably have to have a few just so everybody knew what was going on. And then we'd finally go to the contract phase where we would advertise it. It would go to the contractors. They'd bid out. We'd award it to them, and then construction would start. So we still hold public meetings at that point in time too, to keep the public informed. So what's all in the documents? Well, we got a highway project 6-year plan. The transit projects only have a 1-year plan. Aeronautics has a 5-year plan. Public Safety Communication Commissions has a 1-year plan. And the capital improvement projects is also a 1-year plan. The main one we're going to go over here in just a second is the highway project, my 6-year plan that I developed. So you also go on the website, you can go to your county, and this is a map that'll come up, and it'll show, it'll highlight the roads that are under construction currently. If you're like me and you drive back and forth between the 2 towns every day, you go through 3 of them. Then we got future projects coming, and it also will list like if there's airport projects or whatnot. You can also go here. This is just showing you basically the funds that are spent for the county. It's the total for each year. Some years are obviously going to be bigger than others when we're doing larger bridges or if we're just doing some overlay roads. So on to the District 3 portion of it. This is all the local projects here in Sweetwater County. So I'll kind of go through them. If you have any questions about any of them, just stop me and I'll be happy to answer. We have these annual isolated location projects. Bridge rehab, as you've seen, we did the bridge here in town. That was part of the bridge rehab project. Also the little bridge that we've all gotten friendly with over the last couple of years because it stocks up traffic. That one's also part of a rehab project. We do crack seals, chip seals, contract patches, and then we had a Wyoming tower go up here on top of the hill here not too long ago. So that's for communication. Those are kind of the miscellaneous, just everywhere projects that we do every year for maintenance. This is current local projects, the interchange road there in Rock Springs. It's that old bridge that was out of commission for several years. We replaced it. When I drove over this morning, they were putting the pedestrian fence up, so it's getting even closer to being done. That also will stretch all the way over to Blairtown. I partnered up with Gene and Paul in Rock Springs on that one. YL 372 to YL 28. Mile marker 17 to 27. We're going to do a mill level and overlay with the chip seal out there. Green River traffic signals here in town. We're going to on the way up the hill. We're addressing some ADA needs as we upgrade all the signals to a better system, a more reliable system. And then Lyman to Green River near the Little America area from the mile marker 65 to 76. We'll be doing a mill overlay and a wearing course out there as well. Next year, you'll see an I-80 project out near Granger Junction West is what we call it. It's from 57 to 65. That's probably one of the few projects we have. A lot of those other ones I mentioned will still be going on. We have to finish up that interchange one next year as well. In 2024, we got the 530 project from the Utah state line up. I think it goes a little bit past Lucerne out there, coming up the hill. The westbound lanes of that Granger Junction West project. Patrick Draw out east of Rock Springs will be doing a mill and overlay out there. That's only the westbound that year. Farson County line south. So if you go up north Farson to the Sublette County line and from there coming south towards Farson, we'll be milling and overlaying out there. And then Flaming Gorge Road or 191, we'll be doing a mill and overlay out there. In 2025, we have Green River to Utah, Green River South. So that's basically from town up there by the dump or the transfer station going up the hill. We'll be resurfacing that on 530. Green River on I-80 from the 83 to the 86. That's a slab replacement if needed, do some grinding and texturing to get it a little more smooth in that area, and then reseal the joints. It's all concrete right there. Patrick Draw will be doing the eastbound lanes this season, and then Pointer Rocks, which that's from Pointer Rocks going towards the mine out there. We'll start the westbound lanes hopefully that year on Interstate 80. I think that's one of the spots you see the most potholes out there right now. It blew up a few years ago when we had all that weather. And then the North Street Bridge up there, that was that bridge replacement that I was telling you about there in Rock Springs. Then we have another one out here in 2026, the Green River to Utah state line on 530. Most of us know this section is that one that has that really long wavy section that kind of gets bumpy there. Hopefully go out there, address that and fix that problem. And then we'll do the other side of the eastbound lanes of the Pointer Rocks job, which I also think that comes with the bridge rehab there at Pointer Rocks. Finally, the 2027 Wamsutter westbound, we're gonna go clear up near Wamsutter and kind of start chasing the interstate back this way again. So another mill and overlay out on I-80. And then Rock Springs South, also in 191. Another mill and overlay headed out south of town. We have 2028 here. This is probably the most fluid portion. This is the ones that move around, might move up, move back, whatnot. So, but they're in the STIP. This is where I'd first put that Green River job if I put it in there, or when I put it in there. Green River section, the Wyoming 530, mile marker 0 to 3. That's through town. We'd like to, going up the hill, eventually, FDR's full depth reclamation, we go on there, rubblize everything and kind of restabilize the base, and then we'll repave it. We'll also have to do some more ADA upgrades there. Rock Springs South, US 191. We'll do another FDR overlay and chip seal. 374 out here towards Little America, the service road, we'd like to get it resurfaced. I know especially both sections all the way out to Little America are in poor shape, so we have to go out and address those eventually. Rock Springs Streets, that's the belt loop. We've been working on a project up there in the belt loop to, address all the cracked concrete out there, try to fix that. And then the Jamestown Service Road, that's 372. That one's also fairly beat up, so we need to get out there and eventually mill and overlay it. And then we also have that Creston Junction up here in the that's another project that's kind of on our delayed list. We'd like to get more of those variable speed limit signs out throughout all of I-80, to be honest with you. So when we do have those snowy days, we can hopefully try to slow down a couple of them trucks so we don't have so many crashes. So the next steps, we have who we contact within Ydot. I'd say any of us within the district office. We got Tori, myself, Darren. You can even get a hold of Stephanie and she can help you get to the right person as well. We also have the people in Cheyenne, Mark Gillette, our chief engineer, Keith Fulton, our assistant chief engineer, and Tom Dehoff, our assistant chief engineer of operations. They're all good to contact if you'd like to get involved. Though if you're coming to come ask me for how we can get funding for some of your projects, we're gonna call up Sarah Janes right away. She's the best when it comes to getting money from the local government side of things. So I'm here for any feedback, any questions. And like I said, I always take questions, so you can always give me a call and we can talk. So thank you.
Commissioners, any questions?
Yes.
Commissioner Toman.
Thank you for doing the Eden Valley speed study. We had sent you a letter requesting that at the urging of the Eden Valley Improvement District. They appreciate the study. They just felt like maybe it should have been done during the summer instead of February when there's a lot more traffic. They had asked for reduced speed limits. I know that you didn't feel that was warranted, so I don't have an opinion about that, but and I know the local sheriff and the highway patrol has been trying to increase their patrol of that crossroads intersection. There are a lot of accidents there and some of them have been kind of serious. I was just wondering if there's any way you could put in one of those warning lights coming from the north that would flash their speed limit, because they're all zoned in on going cross country, and when they hit Eden Valley, they don't slow down. They go through that intersection 70 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And they almost hit a school bus a couple of weeks ago.
Okay. Well, Darren can come up here and answer that a little better. I do know that usually the local agencies are the ones that do the little speed adjusting signs or whatnot. So go ahead there, Darren.
Yeah, hi, I'm Darren Kaufman. I'm the district traffic engineer here in Rock Springs. Thank you, Commissioner Tommen, for the question. Basically, for those radar feedback signs, we do have a policy. Per that policy, it requires a request from the local governing agency to enter an agreement with Ydot. And it basically, the local agency is required to, purchase and then maintain that device based on also on a traffic study as well. So that traffic study is normally performed by the local agency. So, and then we can allow those, and we do have those, and we are like currently working up in Sublette County with the town of Pinedale on that exact same thing. So basically that local agency will into it has to submit a permit and enter an agreement with that process. So,
Who would be the local agency though at Eden Valley?
well, in this
They don't have a
case,
city,
in this
so-
case, it would be Sweetwater County. You would have to enter an agreement on that scenario since it's an unincorporated community. One thing that has to, that might be problematic is that I don't know if you recall in this study, it found that what's currently posted may not be legally enforceable. They're not established speed limits in there. If you recall the 40 miles an hour. So we would have to probably, because I think the study, based on the original request, it was a request to lower the speed limits, but what we found is that actually the speed limits through those communities actually should be raised, but we didn't address that because that wasn't part of the scope of the task at that time. So we didn't pursue that.
Yeah, I think it's more an issue of getting them to follow the speed limit.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of things that go into that,
Yeah.
correct?
So what would a flashing light cost approximately?
I think those, they're like, for a pair, about like $10,000. And normally we have criteria and we have a policy, and I can share that with your, county engineer, and we can go from there.
I appreciate that.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners? I guess the only question I would have is a community clarification that the bridge you're fixing between the Foothill exit and Cruel Jack's exit is being fixed because it needed fixed, not because there's an Amazon going back there, correct? I thought we would dispel that rumor. I think I have to discuss that rumor. I don't know how many times I've said that bridge is not being done because Amazon is coming into town. So I thought I would take this chance to put out clarification for the community.
Yeah, as far as I know, Amazon that's total rumor. Yep. For sure. Yep. And that bridge it's been in the works for a long time. I think since the mid 2000s, I think is when we started getting that going. It was going to involve improvement of Blairtown as well, but we're putting that portion off with the city until they can find some more money. But yeah, it's not because of Amazon. I do believe Halliburton had something to do with it at one time, but they're no longer here anymore. So yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you. I just want to ask about 191 South, the snow fences around Sage Creek Road. So kind of on both sides are in pretty poor shape. I get asked about those. Some folks ask, thinking that it's a county road as well. So any plans on those?
Well, thank you for the question. I do believe we definitely know about it, and I believe we're trying to seeing what we can do to address them. Yeah. On 191 South.
Sage
Creek, yeah.
Yeah.
No, they're definitely on our radar, and I know we'd like to do something about it. Whether that's they come down or we go and repair them. Or put in the new style, we'll have to see. There's nothing in my funding right now, but I know it's something we would like to address just because they do a great job on those snowy days.
Thanks. We have a guy who does it for free for the county, actually, a fiber contract, and sells the wood as reclaimed wood. So
yeah, no, if we were going to take them down, I think that would be the route we would go, is get a contractor or someone like him to go out there and take them down. So, but
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Wendling, did you have one?
Yeah, I just, I know you guys are behind the 8 ball and things got pretty rough and could possibly continue to get rough based on weather and of course, heavy usage as it increases. But when the roads are done, they are nice.
Yeah.
They are nice. And
Thank you.
I don't know, I know it's tough to find the contractors, but I think we should, it's real easy to find reasons to complain about things. And we forget real quickly how bad they were when they're fixed up and they're really nice and smooth and everything. And a lot of times we forget to thank those that were responsible for fixing them. It's kind of a little bit taking things for granted. For some people, it's entitlement. They think they're entitled to good roads. I don't know. But anyhow, I just want to let you know that for myself, I understand why we're behind. I know I can see it occur from season to season. I also know that funding is a big issue, and I also know that usage continues to go up, even in town versus what it was 5 years ago. But I think we're very fortunate to have what we have for highway department and the work that's being done. I think we should be very grateful for, and it's done with high quality, which is appreciated. So I think we'd be remiss if we didn't take a moment and also thank you for what you've done. You know, you have responded with requests to do things, and they're all within your policy, and some people may not like it, but so be it. You know, I appreciate the fact you didn't come forward recommending speed limit be raised through Farson Eden, because you could have. We know that, but you know, but there's people living out there, there's schools, there's kids and things that need to be watched, and we appreciate you guys working with us on that.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And I'll definitely pass it on to
Please do.
all my people. We definitely appreciate that. And commissioners and Mr. Chair, thank you for having us today. I do know that's the one speed limit that I actually kind of slow down for. So the others and other places I kind of just breeze right through, but oh, we're supposed to stop or slow
Not
down.
supposed
So
to say that in a public meeting.
yeah, I know. I'm joking. But well, thank you again.
I just wanted to add one.
Any other questions or comments, commissioners? Mary?
I just want to, I guess you're aware of the Transportation Committee of the Legislature is meeting in Rock Springs on August 23rd and 24th next week.
Yep.
I suppose you're involved in that one for the bypass road.
I plan to be there. Yeah.
Our concern as the county is just who would do the maintenance and the upkeep if that road is
Yeah.
authorized.
That's our concern too. So
Commissioner Toman, say that again. Who's that meeting is?
It's the Legislative Transportation Committee is having a 2-day meeting and tour. Part of that meeting is going to address that alternate route between Rock Springs and Green River.
yep.
I would
That
hope they would realize that that amount of money would do wonders on the Flaming Gorge Way
yeah.
and would benefit people of Sweetwater, Green River, and that's so much more useful. And yeah, I just, whoever's brainchild that is, I've having a hard time supporting it. And I know where it came from. So,
Yep.
and I know this commission is expected to possibly make a decision on whether they support that or not. I still hope I'm a sitting board member when it comes up, because I'm telling you right now, I will not support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And just to piggyback on what Commissioner Wendling said, as we look at that, I know, and I'm glad, Mary, thanks for bringing up the Transportation Committee.
Yeah, thank you, Mary.
That was actually in my good of the order, so I'm going to cross that off. But with that being said, I think Doc's right. The Flaming Gorge Way would be a better project. And I think if instead of creating an alternative route, it would be significantly cheaper to even look at a third lane between Rock Springs and Green River as an option, as opposed to an entire new side road. I think there's options out there that could meet the needs at a much cheaper and more effective cost tag. So I think that's my segue. So any other comments from the omnivorous voice of Jeff Smith or the other commissioners? All right, with that, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here to the whole gang. And no matter what Gene says, we do appreciate your guys' work. So, all right, we'll move on with the agenda to tab break. We will, we're scheduled to be back at 10:30. It is 10 o'clock. Let's take you guys good 15 or 20? Do you
Thank
have
you.
a preference? We'll take a 20-minute break and be back at 10:20 and be back on time. Thank you. All right. Tell me when you're ready, Tim. Okay. Guys ready? Okay. I call us back to session. And we are now at tab I, which is the Miners Hospital Board appointment. There is an attachment letter from the hospital that came with it. Kind of what took us here is when we looked at board appointments a couple meetings ago, Ed Tardoni, his term was expiring, and the way the Miners Board currently works is it has a representative from the hospital board. Am I correct, Sally? Okay, if I say anything wrong, since you know the board stuff, let me know. And none of their members had wanted to go on to the hospital board. Then, so under statute, then it went down to they could get a nomination or a person to fill the board from within the hospital staff. So what you see is a letter to Chairman Smith, just basically saying, dear commissioners, this letter is to acknowledge that the Memorial Hospital Sweetwater County Board of Trustees gives our full support in the request for you to consider appointing Miss Susan Campbell, Memorial Hospital Sweetwater County and House Counsel, to serve as the MHSC representative to the Wyoming Miners Hospital Board. We believe Ms. Campbell will be an excellent representative and serve the Wyoming Miners Hospital Board well. With that, there's no other nominees. So I guess, commissioners, any comments regarding this or any thoughts? Being none, I would be willing to take a motion on the Miners Hospital Board appointment.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to appoint Susan Campbell to the Miners Hospital Board. I attended the hospital board meeting on Zoom and listened to some of the discussions, so I would recommend her.
Okay. Any second? Thank you, Ms. Commissioner Toman. Any seconds?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Shanfield. Any discussion? With no discussion, all in favor with an aye?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes. Welcome Ms. Campbell to the Miners Hospital Board and thank her for stepping up to that when we had a vacancy. So thank you so much. Up next, tab J, some guy named Commissioner Lloyd is the presenter. Sweetwater County Commissioner, and it is on the joint powers agreement. I will be having Attorney Daly on assist me in this. What you have is an amended copy of the agreement that we agreed to as a commission about 1.5 months ago at the end of the June that would change the percentage costs of the joint powers agreement. It was sent to the AG after signatures were received, and there were some very minor changes that it came in, like signature lines, but nothing of any consequence. John, is there anything you can add to that?
The only thing that I would add, Mr. Chairman, is that there was an outstanding question that was being presented. I did communicate with the Attorney General's office. There was some concern presented that if this board and the other boards involved wanted to look into making budgetary modifications to the Joint Communication Board agreement in the future. Was that something that is legal to do? The Attorney General, while they do not give a specific opinion for hypothetical presentations, they didn't see that that would be problematic, that if the three parties make an agreement, that there aren't specific limits for joint powers agreements. So I know one of the concerns as this board has contemplated the value of joint powers agreements is that what comes along with it is a blank check. And while that issue may not have been addressed in the past in terms of other joint powers agreements, so there's no working example where something different was done, it is something that you moving forward, whether it's with this agreement or other joint powers agreements, you can have a joint powers agreement without a blank check as you deem fit. You can do that either by having a cap, as was previously discussed, or in whatever fashion you and the joint powers parties would jointly agree to.
So, thank you, Mr. De Leon. And I was in conversation with John about this, Attorney De Leon. I have reached out to some of the potential Rock Springs mayor candidates, just 2 of the 5, that kind of talk about this to see if this is something they would be interested in discussing upon election, which we're way far ahead, I mean, for that position. But the couple I did talk to did speak in favor of that discussion and saying it made sense. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Any comments by our other commissioners?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mrs. Tolman.
Well, I just want to remind everyone that we agreed this was a work in progress and that next year, you know, we still didn't address the blank check issue. And actually, the agreement we did make cost the county money, although I know Commissioner Lloyd was trying to be absolutely fair. So that's all I can say about that right now.
So any other comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Commissioner Wendling.
Mr. De Leon. I know we, as a group, as a commission, approved moving forward with the contract, knowing that there'd be ongoing conversations, whether or not open check continued. But I also truly believe by approving this contract, it'll take all 3 entities again to have that conversation. If one of them chooses not to, then we stay with this. As if we don't approve this, it would go back to the old numbers. My question is even though with new information now, which we didn't have when we approved moving forward with this, can we at this time still vote against this from moving forward as a group?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Wendling, yes, you have a choice whether you vote for it or against it. You approved moving forward. This agreement would require a majority vote to receive a signature and to move it forward. And you are correct. If it was voted down, then it would revert back to the original percentages.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from any of our commissioners? With that, I just want to note that I do know we have the option to vote yes or no on this, and I think for diligence relationships with cities and such that would be important to move forward. But that is why there's 5 of us to vote. And so, with that, I'm looking for a motion.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the agreements and also say appreciate the work that's gone into it. While not perfect or really what we wanted, it's again a work in progress. And so I'll make the motion to approve.
Do we have a second? Mr. De Leon, question. I can make a second, correct?
That is correct.
I will make a second. So any further discussion? Okay.
Chairman,
Yes.
I think it's a mistake to approve this at this point in time because I truly believe that once the percentages are probably the thing that's on everybody's plate because all they want to, because funding is a huge issue, whether it goes up or goes down, and some entities feel it's fair, some feel it hasn't been. And so we moved into that, but we also moved into the idea with changing the language. We've been under the idea that, hey, until we heard from the Attorney Generals whether it would be possible or not, it hasn't been. Now we have heard from the Attorney General. I'm not sure it's in our good position to barter away our only chip to get this contract so the open check is taken care of. I think if the two cities want lesser payment or want to pay more, as Rock Springs has indicated, and Green River wants to pay less, as they've indicated, I think we've been players in the game, just try to keep things intact, but I think it's time now to look out for our own interests, and that's the open check that we've talked about that spearheaded this. The Attorney General's office said without ado, basically, it is something that can be looked at and something that, based on what John shared with us, is a good, strong possibility. I don't think we should be bargaining our only chip to get that contract straightened out with communications, joint communications, by approving this agreement. So I will be voting no, and I would hope that the rest of this commission would look out for the interests of the county this time, rather than what the two cities want, and realize that our attorneys are willing and have stepped up to the plate to make this happen, have gone to the mat to check at the state level, and are continually willing and believe that this can happen. I ask you, please, please do not vote away the only bargaining chip we have to straighten this contract and possibly future contracts out. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners.
Any other discussion? I just want to make a comment. I can see where Commissioner Wendling's coming from, and what's that? Oh, sorry. I can see where Commissioner Wendling's coming from in respect to his comments. My concern is when we get to the point of using the bargaining chips and some of the calls, I believe it does create some strain in relationships. I think that was seen with when we canceled the ambulance contracts, using that as, hey, this is how we're going to get the cities to be involved, and that we saw the negative impact. And I feel like we can continue to work together in a positive way to find a good means, even without the bartering chip. That's one man's opinion. So that's why I will be voting yes. So
Point, counterpoint, apples and oranges.
Yep. So, okay.
Mr. Chair.
All right. Yes. And so any other discussion?
Roll call vote.
I will be doing a roll call, Commissioner Wendling.
I would like to comment. I do agree with Commissioner Wendling. I just think with new possible mayor and city council people that we should give them a chance to weigh in on this. And it's an opportunity for us to look at different options even. Maybe we look at something besides joint powers. So anyway, I will be voting no, I guess, at this point.
Any other discussions? All right, we'll do a roll call. We'll start on the ominous voice of Jeff Smith on the screen.
Yes.
Commissioner Wendling.
No.
Commissioner Sandfeld.
No.
Commissioner Toman.
No.
Commissioner Lloyd. Yes. Motion pass. Motion fails. I apologize. 3-2. I will, with this commission's permission, I'd like permission to seek out to that committee to restart meeting with our attorneys to see what we can find, if this commission is okay with that. Any comments? Yes,
Well,
no?
Mr. Chairman, I think maybe we could do a little bit more in depth, get a committee together more than just the attorneys maybe, and try to look at some options.
Okay.
That go beyond that agreement maybe.
Okay. We'll put that on the agenda at the next meeting to discuss how we move forward with this. All right, with that, tab K. Discussion of regarding a county administrator. I'm gonna just bring it out, and then I'll probably have Commissioner Shanefield help lead this discussion. Are you okay with that, Commissioner Shanefield?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This has come out of executive from discussion. Want to clarify, because we have been questioned as a commission why this was in executive. And I think it's important to clarify that when we first started having some discussions, it started out at looking at other positions, and it kind of morphed into this to a point, and it did affect other people's positions. I think we were at a point where we felt like we could bring it out and have that discussion publicly. So that's why that's where we're here. And so I will take it over to Commissioner Shanefield. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I think I want to start with, just because there has been some public comment and some questions that have been in the public limelight recently, that this discussion never started as a CEO discussion or a CFO discussion. It started as a discussion that maybe there was a gap in a few things that the commission needed to be successful, to be transparent, and to effectively communicate with our constituents. And so I have had conversations, and I think all of us have had conversations, just in general conversation with each other over the last 3 years, that we felt like there might be a need for some sort of a position. What the title of that and what the exact duties of that would look like would be, or is something that we haven't decided yet. I did reach out in attempt to gain some information about what other communities are doing across the state. There are 4 other counties that have county administrator roles. They are all 4 vastly different. There are, from a CEO level, all the way down through what I would consider Sally's position currently. And they are everything from helping with the agendas to directing our directing department heads. And so today, I think we really want to have the discussion about maybe starting to look at what that might look like. There's also been a lot of conversation about creating new positions, creating new roles. I don't believe the intent is to create another position within the county. For me personally, this is to look at some efficiencies. For me, I believe we need somebody, maybe even as a PIO position, in that putting out, information, press releases from the commission, sharing information with our department heads, and ensuring that everybody is on the same page within the county. Not being a supervisor or a boss, I'm not looking or wanting to look at a high level position that would be in charge of running the county. That's our job as a commission. But this would be somebody that would be able to proactively share information throughout our community, respond to items as inaccurate items or accurate items as they come up throughout our community. And then there's also been, I believe from my standpoint, a gap in us making decisions or needing things from the county standpoint or from the commission standpoint, and then that getting to the right department head or county employee. So for me, I think that we could realize some efficiencies across the board with a potential in this position, depending on how we decided to set it up. And that's what we're here to discuss. So I guess I've kind of said where my standpoint is on this already, and I look forward to this conversation. The cost to the county we wouldn't know that number for probably, I'm sure, a few more meetings. And so if we even decide to move in this direction as a whole. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay. At this point, any comments from our other commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Toman.
I just feel with an election, I agree with Lauren that there have been gaps in the communication sometimes, but I feel that it is something that should be addressed by whomever is on the commission in January. And as they work into the budgeting process, then they can also look at the efficiencies in maybe some other areas as well while they're doing it. So I'm not opposed to the idea of of trying to have a PIO position, but I am opposed to a county administrator position. I think we've heard the feedback from the prior opportunity when they did have a CEO, and it wasn't really productive. So that's my position at this time.
Mr. Chairman,
Miss Commissioner Toman.
Shanefield.
Shanefield.
Sorry, Commissioner Shanfield. My name, sorry, my mind was other places.
You're good. I just wanted to throw out for Commissioner Toman, and I don't disagree that another commission should have the opportunity to weigh in on this if we have other commissioners. However, I also think that it's taken the four of us 3 years to get to this conversation. And I know that we've had a lot going on with COVID and with fire and ambulance and many other really high level items that have kind of pushed this to the back burner. But I also feel that now that we have the opportunity to discuss it and we are discussing it, that it would maybe be a mistake to put it on the back burner and settle again for potentially 3 new commissioners to learn their jobs, to start to understand how everything functions. And that takes in and of itself, I would say 1 year to 2 years, really understanding how things work. So that's my counterpoint to that.
We have a lot of points, counterpoints today. So
We're being very polite.
So other commissioners, Commissioner Wendlinger, Commissioner Smith.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Smith.
No, I agree that, with the something of a hybrid PIO, getting information out to the public. It is difficult for us to sometimes convey our ideas and thoughts and what we're working on, what we're doing. So I do appreciate that. And as has been said, not sure that a CEO, executive, something along those lines is needed. We have a lot of good people working in the county now, and I don't think that's necessarily the need. We don't need one more layer of leadership or management, but I think there has been said some gaps that can be filled in as well. Perhaps we could help out with. So thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Wendling, any comments?
Well, I think it's like anything, there's over the years, there's many things that have occurred that we've streamlined government and that had opportunities to continue to run more efficiently. But as we move forward, I think things are a whole lot different today, and it'll be a whole lot different in 2-3 years than they were 5 years ago, 8 years ago, or 12. And I think the efficiency and what the county can effectively get done, i.e. the Board of County Commissioners, sometimes it's very important to look at what our weaknesses and what our strengths are in the county. And sometimes through a process of weaknesses and strengths, finding out where we're at, you find out that there's things that need to be addressed that are ongoing that keeps you from moving forward, that hinder you from moving forward, that slow you down. And unfortunately, we're in a process right now, it's called an election. And I think an election does hinder us as a Board of County Commissioners and sometimes in some topics of our decision-making and that type of thing. I don't mean to be so blunt, but it's a reality. I go back to when I first started and that type of thing. We had conversations about raises for employees, and we knew they were going to get a raise this election year, but on off years, they might get a bonus. Tongue in cheek. I mean, come on, it's real. Don't hide behind it. But I really think, what exactly is that need? Is there one there? I believe so, but what is it? What should it look like? I don't know if we can answer that immediately without looking at what are the strengths and weaknesses in the needs of the county. And that includes leadership from the board commissioners all the way through the other elected officials, through the department chairs. And believe it or not, we're only as good as our weakest employee. And from that, I'm saying is we're constantly got to look at what do we need to do to get better. And we know that we lose good employees and we got to find good replacements that can be as good as they are. So we continue on to build that strength. So we continue to look for people who will not only fulfill what somebody who's leaving us did, but they can take us to another level. I don't think just because we have thoughts of, I don't know what you're going to call it or anything, but I think you're going to need to find out, hey, where are we weak in the county and as a whole. And it may prove to itself that in order for us as a commission to Board of County Commissioners to take care of policy, we may have to back away from some of the middle management stuff that's taken away from what it takes to be part of that policy making. And we may have to make sure we have the right people that are doing that policy and they're not making it, but enforcing it. That type of thing. So I just really think, yes, I think it's a good idea to continue to have conversations. What would that position look like? But you're going to build that position and that description need based on truly the strengths, weaknesses of the county as we move forward. So do we decide today? Absolutely not. I think we got ahead of ourselves when we started, rather than staying on track as Commissioner Schoenfield requested, look at what, when she said, let's look at what a job description look like. And basically, what are the needs of the county? What are the things we have voids in? Now, granted, I think anybody, commissioner sitting at this bench could fill a void that this county has. But I don't think any commissioner at this bench should fill a supervisory void unless it's one person who answers to them and that person answers to has oversight of the rest of the county. Now, I know that's everybody'd say, oh my God, he's talking about a CEO. No, that's just a line and chain. There's somebody there. Could it be a combination of positions? It wouldn't have to be a new one. I don't know what it would look like, but you can't determine what it's going to look like until you know what your needs are. So I think conversations need to carry on, but I don't think today's the day to vote and say, hey, we have a job description, which we don't. We know what it looks like, which we don't know, and moving forward with it. It'd be ridiculous. So I agree with two commissioners, three that say, hey, we shouldn't be moving forward on a CEO today. You're exactly right. But should we continue the conversation and build the foundation and involve any new people so they're not behind the block so they can make some adjustments, which we know there's going to be one seat, new commissioner, January 1st, but at least they won't, have to start it all over by themselves. We don't have to be definitive right now. But I think we got to be open-minded enough to know and recognize one fact. We are missing something in making sure that this county is strong as it can be. What that is, I don't know. We won't know that till we go through what many good organizations go through, and that's called a Delta plus activity or strength weaknesses, what we're all familiar with. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I almost wonder, just getting thought process rolling and, you know, looking at what we can do kind of in the meantime, I wonder if it would behoove us to start just a process in talking to our department heads and our elected officials and asking them what our strengths are and what they feel our weaknesses are, and start just to compile that. Typically that is best done by an outsider, but I think that we can figure out a way to make that process streamline without costing the county any additional money. And recognizing that there is going to be an election today and then again in November. But capturing the department heads and the elected officials that have been working with us for 3.5 years, and what their ideas are would be important in my mind.
Mr. Chairman, that was going to be my comment. So thanks, Commissioner Shanefield.
So I thank you for all the comments. I just want to throw out a couple of my thoughts. I want to start with last January when we were moving off some of our strategic planning. We kind of took a strategic planning break because of the fact we were focusing on the budget. And as we talked about the budget, we looked at a couple of things. We wanted to create a change within how we collected data from the outside agencies, which I think we did a fantastic job of. And that's a living document we're going to see improved next year based upon feedback we've received. One of the other things we discussed was taking a look at our existing departments and analyzing where we were with staff. Our department's full staffed, because I think in some of our cutbacks or our retirement situations, some of our departments, do they have enough people to successfully function? Are there departments that may be overstaffed? I don't know. And that was one of our discussions, was to take a look at that. And I think we could tie this all together, and maybe the way to go is to continue looking at it, but going into some workshops, coming up with some of the data we want to drive from our elected officials, and then also our department heads, and then having some informal discussions about, and I had SWAT written down before Commissioner Wendling said it, strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats. I had to think about the T was, but it's a threat. But and really taking a look, where are we weak? How do we fix that? And maybe there's places we can work together, counter departments, to figure out how. And I think it's a great discussion point to start. I think it's going to be better, in my opinion, to efficiently come up with that in an informal setting. And that's why I think potentially looking at a workshop would be a really good setting, and maybe having, and I think Doc kind of alluded to that, is even then, if we kind of know who some of the players are coming in, they can't vote, but they can at least be part of the discussion in a workshop and throw out some thoughts. And maybe that's the direction to go. And so I don't know, I guess sitting here as acting chairman today, even though the other acting chairman's across the screen, maybe the way to do is to maybe have a couple of us come up with some data to drive, present that next week, and then come up with a plan to maybe collaborate that data, then coming into some workshops. What does everyone think? Once again, I'm 1 of 5. So if I'm wrong, this is just my thought process.
Mr. Chairman.
Mrs. Commissioner Shanefield.
I agree, and I'm willing to assist in any way that I can.
And I would be willing to work with you on that, if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other commissioner thoughts on that process? Okay. So, all right, no motions needed. We will move forward. Good discussion, guys. Good discussion. All right, with that, that takes us out of our regular scheduled meeting and going into executive. We have one executive item that's listed as legal today, and that will be presented by John DeLeon. So with that, can I get a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
We have a motion from Commissioner Shanefield. Do we have a second?
I would second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Toman. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I just would like to make one point. It seems the public has some confusion over executive session versus pre-decisional. Pre-decisional comments, if I could make that statement now.
Commissioner Toman, could we do that during maybe go to the order?
Okay.
I think that would be an appropriate place.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Should we have a second? Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of going into executive session with an aye?
Aye.
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 Opposed?